Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Fired up for this one. Many of the Miami fans who've been rocking with the boys the last couple of years know this. One of my favorite offseason episodes to do every single year, top 10 players for the Miami Hurricanes rolling into 2025. Now, the beauty of this episode is that if you're a Miami fan watching this episode, chances are you're going to have some takes, in terms of who the top 10 players are on this roster. And I love hearing from you guys in the comment section. There's no one way to make this list. So the players you think I'm sleeping on, please let it fly in the comment section. It's an opportunity for all of us to kind of call our shot and say, hey, who are the players that really could emerge as top 10 players on this roster? As I was making this list, I kind of harken back to a conversation that we've had throughout the offseason, and that is, look, we know that Miami is going to be a damn solid football team in 2025. I don't think I'm breaking any news to the Miami fans. Now, the question of, hey, is Miami an ACC championship caliber team or a national championship caliber team? That lies to me with the names that we see on this list that we're sitting here in the middle of July. We probably can't put right now as top 10 players on this roster, but very well could be top 10 players on this roster come the middle of October. These are the names that, in my opinion, are the most important names for Miami to step up in 2025. Look, we know the Francis Maunoas, the Ruben Banes, the guys that are going to go first round in the NFL draft. We know we have some studs on this football team. These are the names that offer immense upside in certain situations at really important positions for this team. These are the guys that need to step up. I would start with the defensive line. You talk about the amount of resources that Mario Cristobal pushed into grabbing a guy like Justin Scott and Armando Blunt and Marquise Lightfoot out of the high school ranks. It's year two for these cats. You want to see that step, and you want to see a few of these guys emerge as legitimate game wreckers for Miami up front. The one that's exciting me the most, Marquise Lightfoot. There is some buzz about this kid. And look, we knew Marquise Lightfoot was not a year one guy. We were really excited about what year two, year three, year four was going to look like. It sounds like it could be sooner than many of us expect. If we get a ceiling of Marquise Lightfoot that's dang high, that's a massive storyline for Miami rolling into 2025, because I'll continue to hammer home the fact that go look at the teams that have won national championships over the last 5 years. They've all done it in different ways, but they all had elite and deep defensive lines. I think Miami has the ability, especially with some of the top end talent on this roster, to be a dominant unit. But that requires Justin Scott, and Armando Blunt and Marquise Lightfoot to be dudes. The other big story, I'd probably throw in Hayden Lowe too. True freshman Hayden Lowe, he's a year one guy. Marquise Lightfoot wasn't a year one guy. Hayden Lowe's a year one guy, and he sounds like he's looking the part throughout spring. The other conversation here, to me at least, JoJo Trader going into year two, Malachi Tony. People are probably making a little bit more than they should about the question marks about what's around Carson Beck. JoJo Trader's the story. If JoJo Trader takes the step and becomes the player we know he can be, that true wide receiver one for Miami, all of a sudden those question marks about does Carson Beck have enough around him in 2025, those questions get mitigated. So again, we probably can't put a Justin Scott or JoJo Trader as a top 10 player on this football team right now. These are some of the most important players on this Miami Hurricanes roster rolling into 2025. Going to get into the top 10 list before we do. And as always, the Miami fans, appreciate you guys. And please let it fly in the comment section. And don't be shy. The one thing that I will tell you, and many of y'all know this, I don't get offended when we disagree. Many of y'all who've been rocking with the boys for a while, we disagree on plenty in the comment section. That's the beauty of this. So please let it fly in the comment section. Don't be shy about it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with number 10. This is one that could be significantly higher than we see right now. It's a little bit of a projection because we have not seen a ton of Xavier Lucas, but everything coming out of spring was like, this kid looks a little bit different at that boundary cornerback spot. We're talking elite traits in terms of size, in terms of long speed. Then you go back to what he did in the Big Ten towards the back half of the year last year. He was awesome. 52% completion percentage when he was targeted, only missed 6.3% of his tackles, 0 penalties as a true freshman. Xavier Lucas has one of the highest ceilings as a football player on this roster. I feel like 10 is a fair spot to put him because we haven't seen a ton, but I feel like we've seen enough to put him in the top 10. We could be talking about a first-team All-ACC cornerback for Miami in 2025, which is a massive storyline because Miami struggled immensely in the secondary last year. Going to number 9. This is me calling my shot, and this shouldn't come as a massive surprise to the Miami fans who've been rocking with the boys for a while. I think Elijah Loftton is in for a dominant year. Now, I think he was, I don't know if it's fair to say underwhelming last year. We heard a lot of buzz from this kid 12 months ago in fall camp. Probably didn't play as much as many of us expected. Well, that kind of turned out because Elijah Arroyo was one of the best tight ends in the country. Couldn't really take him off the field all that much. Here's the thing that I love about Elijah Loftton. He provides legitimate game-changing pass-catching ability at the tight end position. There's a lot of solid tight ends, but there's not a lot of difference makers. And I think Elijah Loftton, between his movement skills and the ability to create separation, but also his ability to do absolute damage with the football in his hands, I think this is a guy that Carson Beck's going to love, and a guy that is an offensive chess piece that you can put as an inline tight end, that you can flex out wide, that you can put into the backfield. I have a feeling that, especially with some of the Miami Hurricanes wide receiver room in general being a younger group, I think they might lean into Elijah Loftton in a big time way at the tight end position. And Carson Beck loves his tight ends. Highest graded run blocker per PFF, and that checks out on the film. I'm not a massive fan of exclusively using PFF, but I do view it as a tool to kind of enhance our understanding of these football teams. Go turn on the Iowa State film, specifically in the second half. Elijah Loftton, although he's not the biggest tight end, he is an absolute dog as a run blocker. I'm a massive fan of him. I think he might be one of the best tight ends in the country in 2025. Kind of me calling my shot there. Going to number 8, CJ Daniels. I feel like we might be sleeping on him a little bit. At LSU, it was a disappointing year. CJ Daniel was thought to be arguably a top 10 wide receiver heading into the 2024 year for LSU. The expectation was CJ Daniels to be the wide receiver 1. That didn't really happen. He struggled with some injuries. I would stress 2 different things. Number 1, CJ Daniels as a football player last year was pretty dang good. A 75% completion percentage when targeted at LSU, 0 drops, 6 contested catches, 12 missed tackles forced to provide some legitimate value after the catch. He just didn't have the opportunity that I think a lot of us assumed he would have at LSU. Now he's coming to Miami. I would harken back to the 2023 season where he went for over 1,000 yards, averaged 20 yards per catch. I think this kid can play. And I think we're using that LSU season in 2024 where he just didn't get as much opportunity as many of us would have liked and say, don't write this kid off. A very good chance he is a 1,000-yard catcher for Miami in the 2025 year. Going to number 7, Jordan Lyall. And now you could have Mark Fletcher on this list too, and it's a running back. I mean, I think it might be a 3-headed monster because what we're hearing from Shamar Brown, this kid's come on to Miami summer workouts. Apparently he's been a dog. You have, in my opinion, the best trio of running backs in the country. There might be some better duos of running backs up at Notre Dame or maybe Penn State. But in terms of trios, Mark Fletcher, Jordan Lyall, Shamar Brown, I don't think it gets much better. Jordan Lyall's my guy, at least me personally. And I would understand if you're a Mark Fletcher guy. Hell, I would understand if you're a Shamar Brown guy. What entices me the most about Jordan Lyall is Miami's going to lean on the run game a lot more in 2025 than they did in 2024. And when you want to lean on the run game as much as I expect Miami to, you got to be able to find explosive plays. Jordan Lyall's that guy, 7.4 yards per carry last year. Here's the thing with Jordan Lyall. He was a summer enrollee. He was on campus for 2 months before he was suiting up for Miami in the fall. What happens with a full winter workout and a full spring practice and a full summer workout for Jordan Lyall going into year 2? He had 14 missed tackles forced on 54 carries. 235 yards after contact. And this is a guy that, yes, is a very explosive running back, can hit the home run play, but also a guy that I think can bang between the tackles and do some of that dirty work that Miami's going to want their running backs to do. Jordan, it's like kind of, this is the epitome of call your shot. You got three really good running backs in the room. Who do you think takes over the running back room? I don't even know if we're going to have that. They might just cycle those three guys in and keep them all fresh. Jordan Lyall's my guy. Going into 2025, I think this kid's a stud. Going to number 6. And again, probably one of the most slept on football players on this team, Aake Mezador. Go look at the body of work is probably where you want to start. His career, 36 tackles, 23 sacks. There's just not many players on this roster that have been around the sport as long as Aake Mezador and have played as much football as Aake Mezador. And look, go back to last year. He was damn solid. 9 TFLs, 5.5 sacks, 18 quarterback hurries. That was 4th on the team, 12.9% pass rush win rate. What I'm excited the most is I feel like there was that feeling out process of how we want to use Aake Mezador, where we want to line this cat up. I feel like Miami has a really good sense of how they want to use him next year. Now look at, Ruben Bane, Aake Mezador, Hayden Lowe. If we get some production from Armando Blunt, Marquise Lightfoot, this could be a very, very dynamic pass rush for Miami, especially with those edge rushers. And I love what he does against the run. That's probably something worth noting is I had felt like last year, especially guys like Tyler Barron, as good as Tyler Barron was rushing the passer, it was extremely inconsistent against the run. And Aake Mezador is going to do it right, and he's going to keep his outside shoulder free. He's going to play with good pad level, and he's going to be involved in the run game. Going into our top 5, to me, one of the most impactful transfers on this football team, Zachariah Poiser. I think the world of Zachariah Poiser. 75 tackles, 8 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. I would keep in mind here, this cat's young. He redshirted in 2023, was a redshirt freshman in 2024. He's only going into year 3. So he's still a player that I think there's some meat left on the bone in terms of how good he can be. And why I highlight that is, like, you look at a guy like James Brockermeyer coming from TCU. Like, James Brockermeyer's been around the game for a while. I think he's a damn good center. I don't know if he's going to get much better from what he was at TCU. I think Zachariah Poiser can. The thing that stands out to me, 47.8% completion percentage when targeted, and there's a large sample size. He had 69 targets faced at Jacksonville State last year. Last year for Miami, their safeties were liabilities when they had to match up in man coverage. I'm talking about Zaquan Patterson. I'm pretty much talking about every single safety on that roster last year. Michelle Powell, whoever you want to pick, they couldn't hold up. Zachariah Poiser can. And even more importantly, he's really versatile. He can come into the box and support the run. 75 tackles last year. He can play that nickel and be a very, very sticky guy in man coverage. You were so bad at safety last year. I think you grabbed one of the best safeties available in the portal with Zachariah Poiser. His ability in man coverage, I think, is going to massively enhance what this defense can be in the 2025 year. Going into our top 4 now, Carson Beck. Y'all know my take on Carson Beck. This is a perfect fit. I preferred Carson Beck over John Mateer for Miami. Now, if you're talking Oklahoma, maybe I prefer John Mateer at Oklahoma. But in terms of the situation Carson Beck's coming into, just assuming that he's going to be back fully healthy, perfect fit. Number one, just look at the season last year. 3,500 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The turnovers, the 12 interceptions, that's a little bit high. You want to see that number drop. Not nearly as bad as the national media wants to talk about with Carson Beck. Here's what fires me up the most: play action numbers. Go back to his time at Georgia in 2024, working play action, a 68% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns to 1 interception. Here's the problem with Georgia last year. They couldn't run the football worth a damn last year. They were outside of the top 80 in yards per carry. So it made the play action game a lot less effective than it was in the 2023 year. With Carson Beck coming to Miami, knowing damn well that Miami's going to have one of the best rushing attacks in the country, able to use play action, I think this is a perfect fit. And the other thing is, like, everybody wants to talk about the question marks for Miami at the pass catcher position, I'll guarantee you one thing ain't going to be as bad as it was in 2024 for Georgia or for Carson Beck at Georgia. It's a really good situation for him. And assuming he gets back healthy, Carson Beck's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country, at least in my opinion, for Miami. Going into our top three, OJ Frederick. And this might be a little bit rich, but I was going back and looking at some numbers. I was turning on a little bit of the 2024 year. This kid was so freaking good as a true freshman. And another one very similar to the Jordan Lyall conversation where he wasn't on campus until the summer. So it's not like he had winter workouts and spring practice before he just kind of got thrusted onto the football field. Look at these numbers. He was targeted 38 times, a 36% completion percentage. This was about as competitive a cornerback as you saw in terms of breaking on the football and not giving much separation to opposing wide receivers. If you wanted to beat OJ Frederick in coverage, you're going to have to be damn good. That's at the quarterback spot and as a wide receiver. 6.1% missed tackle rate for a true freshman. Very good. 5 penalties. That's the number you want to see go down. You saw at times still trying to learn with what I can get away with my physicality and what I can't. If he cleans that up, I think he's one of the best cornerbacks in the ACC. And Miami went from really, really bad in the secondary last year to maybe the best cornerback duo in the conference with a really good safety in Zachariah Poiser. Really big fan of OJ Frederick. Top 2 players on this football team. It ain't that much of a surprise. Ruben Bane, look, he was banged up, and it was very clear that he was banged up, and he still was a pretty dang good football player for Miami. 20 quarterback hurries, a 15% pass rush win rate. Although, and here's the story for Ruben Bane, and this is where you start having the conversation of, all right, how can Ruben Bane catapult himself into a top 15 NFL draft pick? Hey, we just want to see all of that havoc, the 20 quarterback hurries, we want to see that get manifested in the sacks and kind of creating some production. Ruben Bane's impact on the football game does not necessarily get fully displayed in the box score. I want to see it get displayed in the box score. Hey, if we have 20 or 30 quarterback hurries this year, I want to see 10 sacks with it as well. I want to see you finishing some of these pass rush opportunities. Ruben Bane really good in the run game too. Going up to the number 1 spot, in my opinion, clearly the best tackle in the country, Francis Maunoa. Started every single game of his career in Miami. This is the conversation that there are people like, oh, Jackson, Miami paid a lot of money for Jackson Camwell. He ain't worth it. Well, guess what? Miami did this for Francis Maunoa too a couple of years ago, and it turned out that he was really worth it. This kid has started every single game at the right tackle spot. 576 pass per opportunity. Miami threw the piss out of the football last year. Francis Maunoa gave up 1 sack. Highest graded offensive line run blocker on the team, only behind actually Elijah Loftton in terms of on the team in general. He was worth every penny coming out of high school. I think he's going to be a top 10 NFL draft pick. And here's the thing you love for Miami is there are so many programs that are concerned about tackle play. Like, I'm a Michigan fan. We don't know who our left tackle is going to be this year. Miami doesn't have that problem. Hey, Francis Maunoa on the right side, Markel Bell on the left side. We feel damn good. And Miami might have 2 tackles picked in the top 50 in the NFL draft. Francis Maunoa is a lock. I think there's a very good chance Markel Bell could be a top 50 NFL draft pick too. Miami's really good at some premium spots. It is probably the best way. Hey, is Miami a team that we have 0 question marks about? No. Right? There are certainly some question marks we have about this football team, but they got the tackle position figured out. We think they have the quarterback position figured out. We know they're going to be able to run the football. They got some dudes that can come off the edge and rush the passer. Like, you look at the most important positions on the football field, you feel like Miami's got some dudes at those spots. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Any player, here's a couple like Inez Cooper we left off the list. We left off Matt McCoy off the list as well. Some good football players that we left off the list, kind of highlighting how good I think this team can be next year. I should say this year. We're like 2 months away from kickoff. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.